Hiya, my name's Susan Sims, I'm 52, I come from Castlemilk. Absolutely love Castlemilk, my heart's in Castlemilk, no doubt about it. Even though I work in Clydebank. 37 years in a chip shop, same company. Oh, when you think about that, it's awful. But anyway, my usual routine is, I get up about 8 in the morning. First thing I do is hit the kettle. Do not do nothing without a cup of coffee and a cigarette, even though I'm trying to go off them, but it's not happening. Well, on off, usual. But that's the first thing I do in the morning, a cup of coffee and a fag. And then I'll go and run a bath and chill out for probably an hour. My husband normally needs to rattle the door and say, Susan, are you drowning in there? But nah, I don't. So I'll get up, probably take me, the hair's normally half dried before I even finish blow drying and start getting the hairdryer out because I'm that busy on Facebook, snooping the social media, see what's happening with everybody, sending out the birthday messages that I tend to miss quite a lot of people, so I'll apologise for that. And then I'll hover about, normally have a blether in my hubby. He's normally going, stop rattling in my ear, Susan, you're always rattling on. And then normally about 11, I'm normally starving because I've not ate anything because I've messed about that much all morning. I'll have a bit of toast. I like salmon spread. A lot of people go like that, salmon spread. And I also like mackerel at a tin, which people are like, oh, that's disgusting, but I like that. That's one of my favourite things is toast and mackerel or toast and salmon spread. And then I'll probably give my wee mammy a wee FaceTime, or she FaceTimes me. She normally FaceTimes me at the top of her forehead. And she never susses that out. I just go, hello forehead, mum. But she's great, my wee mammy. So she'll be like, what are you doing? I'll be like, oh, I'm just going to get ready for work soon. Mess about. Then I'll come down the stair and I'll stick in a wee washing. Have a blether with one of the neighbours or the fence, and then I'll come in, hang it up and say to my man, make sure you bring it in. Normally about 3 o'clock, I'll get organised for heading for my work, which is, I'm about 40 minutes drive if there's no bad traffic and there's no road closures. That's the worst ever, is when you're getting cut off and all the diversions. When that COP20 was on was murder. Try to find my way to my work for Castlemilk to Clydebank, which is terrible. But when I get to my work, I absolutely love a crowd that I work with, good mob. So if the boss isn't working, I'm normally on the fryers doing the frying, but most of the time he hardly ever takes a day off. So I do the pizzas, which I absolutely love. But not on a hot day when you've got a double oven shining on your back, you're like, oh, please stop. Can I take the heat? But so I like doing the pizzas. I love the customers. You get so many characters in with the customers that come in. We've got a few that come in for the pub and give all the chant and all that. What are you doing tonight, darling? Which is a good laugh. I love that crowd. But normally it's about, we open up about 4:30. And I'm like, do I know, have some chips? But there's a new routine that we're trying to do the new is no eat chips after 6. Do this fasting thing, which is absolutely murder when you work in a chip shop, because you're like, oh, if I eat the new at 4:30, you're like, I can't eat it all 4, it's too early. I'm like, no, I'm starving because I missed my bloody lunch. So it's like, no, I'll have a wee tray of chips and some cheese, and then you're like, before you know it, you're absolutely hammered. They're frozen, you end up having to put it in the bin. But that's fine. But normally, and I've got a list of stuff to do before I even start, and that's cut the cheese, which is normally 2 big blocks of cheddar with a block of mozzarella, but it's not so bad, you just chop it down. Grater, we've got a machine that does it. It normally takes me about 10 minutes if I'm uninterrupted, if I'm not answering the phone or gabbing to the customers or the staff, which is terrible. We do have a right rattle. It's been with most of the staff I've worked with, I've been about 20 plus years, so they're like family, and the boss, I've known him ever since I was 15, so you can say he's like my work husband. I've got my husband at home and I've got my work hubby, and I swear when there's ever a day off, they're in cahoots. They'll normally say, oh, I'll take a week off. Well, I'm away to Italy that week, she's working. So I've always said it, I've said it for years, my work hubby and my husband are in cahoots to make me work like a slave, but hey ho, that's fine. Normally after I've done the cheese grating and served the customers their pizzas, normally the slips will come in off the app. There's like a wee app machine that we've got, which I've not got a clue how it works, but I'm sort of getting there now with it. I'll give you the list and I'll get all these. But see, as soon as you put it down my counter, I don't know, just a spot of water or pineapple juice that just destroys the whole app strip, which is not too bad because like you can press the button again. My boss will be like, how many times? Well, it's just one of these things. I get away with it after 37 years, don't I? And then normally, the worst thing I hate is spicy chicken. Normally on a Monday night it's spicy chicken. You need to chop absolutely a ton of spicy chicken. That's the worst job. And if you burst the glove with a knife, you're stained, your fingers are stained for about a bloody week. So that's probably the worst job, is the spicy chicken. Onions, you're stoning. If you're like that, please let it be. Whoever it is, try and get away with no doing the onions. That's the usual stuff. Don't chop the onions, leave it the person the next day. But sometimes you've no choice, you've got to. But you're stoning there with big red eyes and the customers are like, are you alright there? And you're like, I'm alright, it's just the onions, honest. So if you're ever emotional, I always get the onions out and work. That's what I say, you've got away with it. And then normally about 6 o'clock, about 5 to 6, I'm normally going, right, I'm starving. I'll eat something as quick as I can now. So we normally get a wee half-hour break, but because we're shutting a wee bit earlier now, we're all sort of snibbing our breaks so that we can get out for 10 o'clock. So we're like, right, we'll do a quick 10 minutes instead of like half an hour what we'd normally take, which is no bad. But plus we can hit the kettle on at any time for a wee coffee or a tea. And quite a lot of us tend to go up to the shops for the biscuits and that. So my usual routine for shutting down the shop is normally about 9 o'clock. I'll have a bucket, I'll clear off my fridge, shut everything, put it all away. We've got a batter, like a bowl thing that does the dough, that mixes the dough, that I need to scrub, which is murder once it dries in. You need to actually scrape the bloody thing, which I hate using a scraper. Metal to metal, I always think you wreck the bowls. But I do it anyway, get it done, dusted. Once we've done that, somebody will go into the back and do the dishes and that, so you'll run about and try to help whoever's held back. So we're out the shop, normally 10 o'clock, dub the front door of the shop. And then we're normally out for about 10:15 because we start, I start early, I start 9 o'clock. I'm like, woof, starts clearing the corner and then we help everybody. And then, well, we don't spend too long outside the front shop because we're all that busy trying to get home. And my worst fear is if there's something on at Hampden or if there's something on at Ibrox, doesn't matter which road I go, I get caught in the traffic. And then once I think the worst I ever got caught was a 2-hour wait on the expressway. I thought I'll no go the M8 under the tunnel and out onto the M8 because there was a game on at Ibrox. But there was something on at the exhibition centre. But it turns out 2 hours I sat. I didn't get home at about 12 o'clock at night, but I was raging, but that was another time. But the time, normal time, I'll make it, I'll hit the expressway, South Street Expressway, Kingston Bridge, come off, and I'll do a wee burling going to the M74. That's my favourite road for getting myself home, up home a day. If it's clear and there's nothing on at Hampden, I'm straight up the road and I can normally make it for about 10 to 11, for about 10:15, which is good going. I think the quickest time I ever made it home was 17 minutes, but we'll not say too much about that. I did run a red light and the lights were good to me that night. I made it through, so it wasn't too bad. But normally about 11:15, I'll come straight in, get home, get washed, because normally you're about that thick of grease on your face, we working in a chip shop. Get my jammies on, and I do try to get to sleep for 11:30. If I don't touch my phone, I can normally get to sleep for about 11:30, and then I'll start my routine over again, try and get up about 8.
Hello, my name's Tam. I live in Inverclyde. I'm 65 years old. I've retired. So my typical day would be getting up quite early in the morning for most people, maybe hopefully up for 5 o'clock, but not for long, where I go and do a little bit of practice that I consider the most beneficial part of my routine is the first hour in the morning. After that, my routine varies and it can become quite chaotic. But initially I get up, I do some practice of Tai Chi, relax the body, and then after that I may go and do an hour of meditation, settling the body, and after that's completed I'll have a cup of tea and then go and choose something from a catalogue of teachings. So I've physically exercised my body and I've relaxed my mind, and then I'll go, it may not be written form, it may just be going to YouTube and studying for at least 20 or 30 minutes something of interest to me. After that, I'll probably go back to bed and have a dream. I waken up after the dream, I try and remember my dreams, and then go and have a shower, brush my teeth, By that time, maybe it's about 11 o'clock, then I'm ready to face the outside world. I have got, after this piece, it's pretty regular for me to go and maybe teach a class. Basically for people that want to learn a little bit about Qigong or Tai Chi, relaxation techniques. I have 4 classes a week, which is just purely because I'm really inspired and interested by it, and I hope I can put my passion and get some of the people, mostly older people, who want to have a calm mind and a relaxed body. After which, me and Daniela may go and have some lunch about 12 o'clock, catch up with some friends in the afternoon, and then maybe 6 o'clock at night, my partner Daniela will come and we'll make some pasta or something like this. Then it's Netflix time, whiling away a little bit of time. Maybe about 9 o'clock, Daniela watches her programmes, I go on the computer, catch up in news. I'm very interested in the world. I'm very interested in having as much and bigger perspective of the world as I can. I read as much as I can, I listen to different views. Then maybe about 11 o'clock, I will start to think about winding down, relaxing, maybe listening to some calm music, or maybe even doing some practice like a yoga nidra or something like that, a mindfulness meditation. I think routines are very good up until they become very bad. And what that I mean is we shouldn't belittle clockwork models. Every day is unique. Unfortunately, some of us have to abide by a routine that we do not even like, and it's soul destroying. Many years ago I had to follow very strict routines. Now I'm comfortable enough that I've got some space and time and I've got a little bit of energy left, so I can make my own routine, but I'm very aware that habits maketh the man. And so the primary thing for me is to start the day well, go out and have as little routine as possible, and don't work like a Groundhog Day sort of scenario. Meet people, be friendly, try and learn something, try not to step on too many toes if I can avoid it, which is sometimes difficult for me because I'm quite interested in alternative views of almost everything. Then when the day comes to a natural end, maybe before I go to sleep, I will complete it by doing some breath work, some pranayama. And that's just to get off to sleep, to wind the mind down, to make the mind relax so that I can get to sleep and I can have productive dreams where I think many of my creative ideas come from. And first thing in the morning when I'm waking up again, the first thing I recall is the dreams from the night before, and it's back into another day. And I think that's about the typical non-regulated day that I have.
Hello, my name's Greta. I am originally from Lithuania, but I've been living in Glasgow for the past 6 years, and I work as a finance controller. I really like my sleep, so to wake me up in the morning, get me out of bed, it takes at least 3 or 4 alarms. The first one goes off about 7:30 or 7 o'clock, and it actually is more maybe for the dog, because this is a sign for the dog that she can jump in the bed and have a bit of a morning cuddle with us. So as soon as she hears the first alarm, she just jumps out of her bed, and you can see the excitement in the dog's face, and this is her start of the day as well as this for mine. After that, I've got another 2 or 3 alarms, and then I finally get off bed about 8:30. If it's my turn to take the dog out, I'll take her out for a quick walk. I'll then have a shower, and then my actual work day starts at 9. So I'll be at my desk maybe 2 or 3 minutes before 9. I'll never come early to work, but I'm never late, so just a few minutes before. I usually get a kettle on for the coffee, but as soon as I sit down to work and I open my first email, I have this urge that I need to reply to it, so I always forget the coffee. And it's my partner who actually makes the coffee, brings a cup to myself and for himself, and I just I'm just straight into work at that time. The first things I do at work is check my emails, check my calendar to see what calls I've got scheduled for the day, and I'll always open the bank account to see any payments that we received. I'll put all the payments on the accounting system, and I'll check any clients who need to be taken off the debtor list. The rest of the day for me at work, it just depends on the time of the month we're in. The first few weeks of the month are always the most busier because this is the time when I need to prepare all of the financial reports for the previous month, and I do this big management accounts report for the board of directors to let them know how well we performed, how each individual salesperson did, what was our income, expenditure, payroll, and so we know whether we made profit or loss and how future months are expected to look like. I usually forget about breakfast. If I remember to eat something, that's about 10 o'clock. And I usually make myself a quick porridge or some muesli with yogurt, and I just eat it very quickly while working just at my desk. While I'm working, I always like to have music on, and that's lately either Bon Jovi or Imagine Dragons or Need to Breathe. I have it on quite loudly because I really like to have something in the background, and my partner works in a different room. I always also have a Teams chat open so I can speak to my team. I think now that we're working from home, we don't see the colleagues so often, so it's quite important to feel like you're still part of the team. We always crack a joke to each other. We all love gifts, all about gifts. So whoever posts a good gift that fits in the chat, that feels amazing. And I always want to be me, but usually it's not me. Lunchtime for me is 1 o'clock. And lately, because me and my partner have been training for a big hike in the Alps, if the weather is good, we're hoping to do Mont Blanc, the highest mountain in the Alps. If not, then the second highest mountain in the Alps. So at lunchtime, we train. And lately, we've been doing Insanity training program, which is insanely difficult. It's definitely the most difficult training program I've ever tried. We're both covered in sweat and just, it's difficult when the first move of the training is called suicide drills, or it's power jumps, power jacks and things like that. So, but it is rewarding because we both feel the benefits of it. Of course, we don't have time to eat lunch then, so it's a quick protein shake, protein bar, some fruit, maybe toast, and something like that. And then back to work. The rest of the day, I'll probably have 1 or 2 calls with my colleagues, and I'll then make sure that all the bills are paid. I'll pay our staff's expenses. I'll collect receipt for any payments that we made throughout the month. I'll do payroll and all of the financial tasks, as I said, just depending on where we are in the month. My working day officially finishes at 5, but I never finish work at 5. It's usually 6, sometimes maybe 5:30. That's the best case scenario. And then it's time to walk the dog again. She usually heads to go for this walk. She runs away, so we have to catch her. She loves that game, by the way. So once we catch her, take her out for a quick walk, and then we're back home. I always make a nice homemade warm meal, and I really like to experiment for that. So I try different kitchens, different dishes. I like to follow some Instagram pages for ideas, and like to use Simply Cook, which helps you to pick different cuisines every day. Last night we had Yemen pilaf, for instance, or we sometimes can have Brazilian, African food, just every day something different. And then after dinner, I'll either watch a movie with my partner, or I like to listen to an audiobook while doing home chores, so like cleaning the fridge or emptying the drawers, things that I don't like to do, but it's much more pleasurable with an audiobook, or watching a documentary on Netflix. And then the night finishes really late for me. It's about midnight. Just before midnight, I take the dog out for the last quick walk, and then 12 o'clock, brush my teeth, to bed. Me and my partner both can't sleep without some background noise, so I know it might sound weird, but we always fall asleep to Simpsons. So we've got, we don't have a telly in the bedroom, but we've got the, how do you call that thing, the projector. So we'll have Simpsons, and we usually both fall asleep in the first 3 minutes, so next day we don't even know what episode it was on. And that's the end of my day.
My name is Marco. I am 47 years old and I come from Italy, although I've been living here in Fairley, North Ayrshire for 18 years now. I work as a translator, English to Italian, as an Italian language tutor, and occasionally as a safety steward. Normally, I wake up about 9 in the morning. When I work as a safety steward, usually I come back around 1. I come back home at around 1, so that's my sleep pattern. I keep it. So I wake up at around 9. The first thing I do is I drink some water. I keep water next to my bed, and I have a big sip of water. Then obviously I go to the bathroom to do what you do in the bathroom in the morning, freshen up. I get dressed, even if I will not be working outside of the house. I do not stay in my pajamas. So I get dressed, I'll go to the kitchen and I prepare my breakfast. My breakfast usually is, if it's warm, a big glass of fruit juice. If it's cold, I'll have a mug of some herbal infusion, herbal tea with honey instead of sugar. And some biscuits, diet biscuits, light biscuits, something like that. I will also prepare a big bottle of tap water, usually with a little bit of cordial for flavor, which I'll keep next to my desk. And then I'll come here, which is where I work, where I do my translation. I switch on my laptop, and meanwhile I'll check my social media, my WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook, whatever. When my computer is on, actually before I start working at this time, will be about 9:30 to 9:45. First thing I'll do, just to wake up in a way, is to do my Wordle for the day, both in English and in Italian, while I finish my breakfast. So at about 10, 9:45 or 10, I'm ready to start work, so I check my email. And I'm working for 3 clients right now. One of them is a long-term contract. I'm translating a novel, so I have probably months ahead for my deadline. Well, the other 2 will send me things morning for the same day or for the same days. So I'll check what I have to do and prioritize. For the novel, I have a program. I have a certain point I need to get every day to not fall behind. So I'll start translating whatever I choose to translate, whatever is my priority. Listening to some music. Normally it will be either classical music or instrumental music, or music I know really, really well, so it does not distract me. It's just to keep me company and to cover the background noises as well. Every, say, hour, I will just stand up and walk to the other side of the house, to the front door, open the door, get out for a minute, and come back just to move a little bit. Then if I have a class, normally classes are at the end of the morning or very early afternoon, say 1 o'clock for instance. Today I have one at 1 o'clock. So when it is about 12, 12:15, I'll start preparing for the class. So I'll set up, I might print out things, or I might prepare exercises for the next time. And then when I'm done with that, I will sit and do some crosswords, just to wait for the student to arrive, whether it's at home or on Skype. So usually there'll be 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. After my class, and there's beginners classes and very advanced classes, so all classes are different for me. At that point, that will be about 2 in the afternoon, and that's the time when I have my lunch. Usually lunch is rice. I usually have some boiled rice in the fridge that I boil on a Sunday. I make quite some, so it will last a few days. Depends, sometimes it lasts a whole week. I boil it with already some garlic and rosemary, and then I'll put something on it before I have it when I warm it up. Tomato juice, tomato sauce, whatever it is. Meanwhile, I'll do the dishes for breakfast and if I have something from the previous evening. Then I'll eat it in front of the television, where usually at this time I'll watch a couple of YouTube videos. And when I'm done eating, or sometimes if there's nothing I fancy watching while eating, I'll do some exercises on Duolingo, which is an app on the phone, which helps you learn languages. I'm trying with French, so I'll do some at that point. Make sure I don't stay there for too long, but half an hour. And then when it's about 2:30, 2:45, I'm back here and I restart translating. Still with music, still taking some breaks and walk, maybe have a sip of water at the fridge or use the bathroom if I need to, obviously. Then if I have a safety steward shift, usually it's 4 the time I leave, but let's say one day which I don't, usually I try to finish translating at about 5:30, 5 to 5:30. Sometimes it's later, obviously, if I've not finished what I plan to do, but normally it's about 5 to 5:30. At that point, I'll take some time to do something. Well, I'll check again my social media. Quite often I phone my mum and dad. I call them. Not every day, but 2-3 times a week. Or I'll talk to my friends, or even play a small game on the computer. Something quick, something just to distract me. And then at about 6:30, that's the time when I do some exercise. Usually I either go for a walk outside up the hill, or I'll do something for my arms in the house, or I'll do even some yoga for stretching if I feel I need it for my back, for instance. So anyway, I'll do something pretty much every day. When I'm done with that, whether I've been out, where I've been inside, usually it will be about 7:30. At that point I prepare my dinner, then I have a shower, and then I'll eat my dinner. Dinner tends to be meat, chicken or turkey more often, which I prepare with cooked vegetables, spinach for instance, peas, whatever I fancy. And after that I will also eat some fresh vegetable. I like celery, so I'll just crunch on celery. It's really like a snack. Occasionally I also have fruit at this point. Usually I have fruit. And I eat dinner in front of the television. I watch TV series. I'm watching The Orville right now. I'm watching some old Doctor Who, things like that. I watch a couple of episodes of whatever it is. When it's about 10:30, I will either keep watching if I fancy something, or if I'm watching a pro wrestling show. Usually they last a bit longer, about 3 hours, whatever. Or I switch my Xbox on and play some games. I'm playing Fallout right now. Or I'll start reading something. Anyway, about midnight is the time I go to bed. So obviously I go to the bathroom, I get ready. I go to bed and I read something still. After midnight I also do a small game on my phone. Supposedly it's a brain training game. I just enjoy it. I do 5 minutes after midnight, because it renews every midnight. And depending on how much I'm enjoying what I'm reading, if it's very interesting or not, any time between midnight and 1, sometimes a little later if the book is really interesting and I'm finishing it, might be 1:30, but that's the time when I sleep, when I switch the light on and sleep.
Hi, my name is Cyrila. I'm originally from Slovenia, but I've been living in Scotland for the past 4 years, and I work as a model. So I am currently based in South Lanarkshire, but I work all over the place. So I will now walk you through my typical day. I usually get up, like depending on the job, but I would usually get up around like an hour before I have to leave. So that would be roughly around, let's say 6 a.m. So first thing I do when I wake up is usually put the kettle on, prepare the coffee and like put that on as well. And then I would go and take a shower and just prep my face a little bit, like with creams and stuff. Then I would go back to the kitchen, collect my coffee, like put it in a takeaway cup, pack some probably like fruit bars and some fruit, and then pack my dog as well and go to my car. Then on the way to work, I would usually drop my dog with a dog sitter, and then I would drive on. And on the way to work, I usually like to listen to the music, just depending on what mood I'm in. I listen to different genres and I drink my coffee. When I eventually get to work, it's usually I expect the breakfast to be there. But yeah, I usually go like, first they put me into makeup, so there is a makeup artist on set, and they kind of like put the makeup on, make my hair look presentable. And when that is done, I kind of go to the wardrobe. They, check the wardrobe for the day, put me into like some nice clothing, and then we're all set to go. At this point, this is the point when I would usually have some breakfast if they have some, or if they don't, I have my backup fruit bars and stuff. The first half of the day is usually like the day is split into two halves, like obviously like before lunch and after lunch, and then we just do like different either like stills or like video shoots depending on the schedule. So we just get on with it, I guess. Like we shoot usually approximately like 4 hours or so. Then is lunch break around like 1 or like maybe sometimes a bit later, depending if we're running late. And for lunch, depends on the day, depends on where we're shooting. But usually there is like a selection of, I don't know, sandwiches, salads, and we just have an hour of a break, have a coffee, and then, when we're recharged, we start shooting again. So in the second half of the afternoon, it looks pretty much similar than the first half, but we just continue with shooting whatever we're shooting for. And usually like the wrap time is around like 6 p.m. or something like that. Again, it completely depends on the day. When that is done, obviously we wrap, we pack, I change back into my own clothes and drive back home. So on the way back home, I usually pick up my dog from the dog sitter. Then when I get home, usually on the work days, I don't really socialize with people after, just because I'm usually too tired, because believe it or not, modeling can be quite tiring as well, because you're kind of on your feet most of the day. I get home, I usually put some dinner on, like something that can, cook on its own. So basically like a soup, or I put some rice and veg in the, in the rice cooker. Then I go and take a long shower, wash all my makeup off and stuff. Then I'm ready to have my dinner. Then during the dinner, I usually because during the day I'm usually quite busy and don't really have time to check my phone as much. So I, follow up with all my emails, messages and stuff. I do that while I eat, and I usually have a glass of wine as well. I think that's about it. And then I go to bed around 10 o'clock. Like in bed, I do my Duolingo or read a book. And around 11 I'm ready to switch off. That's basically a typical day in my life.
Good evening, my name is John Kelly. I'm 46 years old and I'm from Gourock. And I'm going to discuss my routine. I'm a physiotherapist and I work within different jobs within the local community. So to start off with, first of all, my routine starts at usually 7 o'clock in the morning, where I'm usually wakened up by my dog, who's a Basset hound called Stanley, and he sleeps in our bed at night between me and the wife. And usually when he wants to get up for a pee, he licks you in the head and wakens you up. So the first part of my routine in the morning is getting him out before he pees the floor, because he's still a pup and he's still getting trained. So I usually take him out for a wee quick walk, get him to go to the toilet, then bring him back in. And during that time, my kids started up. I've got 4 children, and the 4 of them, usually either I prepare their breakfast or the wife prepares their breakfast for them, and that's the start of my day. Out with the summer holidays, the kids' routines are all different. They usually get up at different times, but during a normal school week, for example, I'll take them to school and drop them off for 9 o'clock. One goes to a primary school, the other 3 go to a secondary school, and usually it's quite a military operation to get them ready in time to get to school. Not so much the youngest 3, but my oldest girl takes a hell of a lot of time getting herself just perfect for school. Not in terms of academically, more physically, doing her hair and her eyes, and if anything remotely goes wrong with that, it can delays. Usually get into work about 9 o'clock, and I'm going to discuss one of my jobs is the Centre Independent Living, which is a community-based rehab team which has physiotherapists, occupational therapists, dietitians and so on. And what our job is to go and see patients within the community to offer domiciliary physiotherapy. So during this time, the usual type of patients I would get is people who can't make it outside their house, or they're maybe housebound, and they might have, say, fractures, or they might have recovering from an operation, or they might have fallen, or they might be elderly. So usually what I would do is I would go out and assess them depending on what the condition is, and give them advice or exercises, or if they're, say, off their feet, you're trying to get them back to balancing and walking normally, provide walking aids and so on. During a normal day I can see between 4 and 6 patients all over Inverclyde, from Port Glasgow, Kilmacolm, right down to Gourock, and that itself can give a lot of varied type of people. Within the community, if there are a few interesting patients, people who have been maybe housebound, or people with 20 cats, or people who have got maybe psychiatric issues or whatever. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to be quite like a chameleon and try to make sure that they get the best possible treatment and the best possible outcome following their physical problem. Usually I finish this job at 4 o'clock at night, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, sorry, and I have a couple of private jobs I can attend to, and I either go to Argyll Hospice or I go to the Little Sisters of the Poor, which is 2 private jobs that I have, and depending on what day of the week it is, I'll go to one of them. Probably talking about one of the places I work is Argyll Hospice, which is a palliative care unit with 8 beds in it, and it's for people who are at end of life care. And what we offer is end of life care. Usually the palliative people usually are dead within 4 to 6 weeks as such, but with it, we also offer a sort of respite as well, where we do sort of optimisation of medication, so pain control, or they might get a bit of psychological input, or they might get the consultant changing medications, doing radiotherapy, things like that. And they also do a bit of physiotherapy. And as my role as a physiotherapist would be maybe doing chest physio for clearance of secretions for people that's got maybe lung cancer, or if you've got metastatic bone cancer, say for example in your pelvis, I might be assessing to see whether it's safe to mobilise this person. As you can imagine, if you have got cancer within your pelvis and you make the wrong call, the person can maybe fracture their hip or whatever, and unfortunately there's probably not much that could be offered orthopaedically to fix that, and that would maybe result in the person being off their feet or bedbound and having additional pain that they maybe shouldn't have. So with that in mind, what I would do is review CT scans, information, MRIs, and see if we can make a sort of informed choice about whether or not it's safe to sort of mobilise this person. Usually do a couple of hours on there at night, and I could work to usually 5, 6 o'clock at night, but sometimes I can work to 8 o'clock at night, depending on how busy I am, or depending on how long it takes to do a certain procedure. As you can imagine, it's quite a distressing thing for somebody who's faced with palliative care, that it might take a long time for them to actually come round to what you want them to do, or they might have a story that they've got to relate to you that takes a lot emotional time for them to sort of tell you. So you can't rush these type of things. And as well as that, you've also got additional family members who might be very concerned, who've got a lot of questions and a lot of input with them. So you're not just working on an individual, you might be working with a whole family as such. Usually finish that 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, and during that time, afterwards, I usually go home to my house, and usually what I would do is interact with children, interact with wife. I would say I'm probably not the best husband in terms of tidying up and cleaning up or doing the dishes or whatever, Usually what I would do is when I come home, it's my feet up and I'm watching the telly. But if there's enough moaning from the wife, I will probably take it upon myself to do a bit of housework or tidying up or maybe cooking or whatever. But most of the hard bits of the day I've probably dodged by 8 o'clock at night. What I usually do to unwind is I like listening to music or watching the television. I usually like watching box sets, I quite like comedies, I quite like documentaries, and usually binge on Netflix till late on at night, and probably go to bed maybe about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's basically my routine. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Ying Lee, and I'm a young 45-year-old and I live in Denniston. My day-to-day routine, it fluctuates, and there's no set time and set day and during the day that I get up, because of my debilitating mental health problems that makes it hard for me to hold down a job. But in the meantime, I'm highly functional and I'm active in the community, and I do a lot from day to day. Usually the time I get up is between 10 to 11, but it differs each day because I might have something on at a set time and I have to get up for it. So basically, I'll go to the bathroom, have a shower, I'll brush my teeth and have a bowl of cereal. And then if I get a phone call from Living Rent, which is I'm a member of, which is a tenants union, I'll go with them and go door to door knocking with them, and in the local area, and sign up members and discuss about housing issues that affects them, like repairs, rent hikes, rogue landlords, or maybe even talk about the current campaign, which happens to be Well Park Community Hall's campaign, which has now been successful because we've actually got the keys to it, and two charities that have got the keys to it is Urban Fox and Blue Whale Community Club. And by the end of August, they hope to open the doors to the local residents. In the meantime, we're trying to sort out the consultation reports and find out more about funding. We've already asked them about it, but I think we need to address it more. And we're going to have a branch meeting at Living Rent today to discuss further details. And like, usually when I'm not doing the Living Rent, I would go for a walk with a friend. Usually I've got companions to go for a walk. I would walk from anywhere in the city, but I usually like walking from the town to the West End to work out some calories and work up an appetite, and then grab lunch, and then I grab a coffee, and then maybe I take the walk back. And then sometimes if I find out there's an open mic day, I would like an open mic slot for spoken word poetry or creative writing, I would come along to it in one of the pubs or the cafes, because I like to do open mic sessions to do my poetry and creative writing. And usually I grab a bite at the pub there, or if I've got money. But if I've not got enough money, I would go home and get something, and maybe later on at night. And then to unwind at night, I would watch some Amazon or listen to some music. I've got a variety of taste. I would listen to my Alexa or Spotify or SoundCloud or one of the apps, music apps, because I like older music or contemporary music, modern music. Because I'm a bit of a night owl, I can't really sleep well. Some days, it's just some nights I can't sleep well. So basically I have a bath to try and sleep, to unwind and all that. But if I can't sleep, I would actually go into this training I've been assigned to do online through an organisation I wanted to sign up to. But it's a mental health organisation, so I wanted to know more about it. It's something I'm learning about called Live and Work Start, which is talking about awareness to do with suicide and trying to help others that are suicidal and help with the finding out about the telltale signs and try to address it and nip it in the bud and try and prevent it from escalating any further. And then at night I would try and get sleep, which again it fluctuates, because at night I probably sleep about between 12 and 2.
Hi, my name is Fran and I live in Glasgow. Although I was born in Germany, I've been here since 2018 and I work as a translator for video games. So normally I set my alarm for 7:30, but I hardly ever get up at 7:30 because I'm not a morning person. I mostly get up at 7:45ish, and then the first thing I do is usually I feed the cats and empty their litter tray because it's disgusting, because my cats are disgusting, but I love them very much. And then I usually take a shower and put the coffee on because I work from home. So if I start at 8:30, I am usually ready at 8:30 to log in to my computer. So I've got my equipment here in my office. And I need to close the door because I work with NDAs because of the video game thing. It's very restricted in what information you can give out and what you can't share and all of that stuff. So yeah, I log in at 8:30 and then I start my work. First I load up all of the programs. I say hello in the channels over which we communicate about our issues. Strictly professional issues, obviously. And yeah, then I look for new things to translate. We usually do it in rounds for video games. So if there's an update, that's a new round, or if there's a new add-on, or different parts of the game that we're working on, if they're being translated usually from Japanese into English, and then we work from the English translation into our different languages, mine being German in this case. Yeah, and I usually do that. So finding new things to translate in the game, or I sometimes have to rework translations that have been changed, or that have been omitted or have been altered, or I proofread what my colleagues do as well. We're currently 3 people on the German team. Yeah, at some point I usually get my coffee because I cannot work without my coffee. Well, I could, but I would make more mistakes than with the coffee. There you go. Yeah, I technically have a lunch break sometime around 12:30, but I don't usually take it that strictly because that's not really how I work. It comes sort of in bursts a little bit, so I'll have 2 hours of complete focus and then 50 minutes I just need to do something else. So that's usually what I do on my break. I do laundry or housework, I do the dishes, play with the cat, entertain it, things like that. Or I read or work for my freelance projects. Yeah, and that's usually my day until 5:30. There's not much more to it. I just look at what's to do. The tasks change every day. Sometimes we have to translate things back from German into English. Or we have calls with the client that we're working for, because I'm technically outsourced to a company that tests video games and that translates video games. So I'm not technically I'm not technically employed by our client, but I still work for the client, and that's pretty cool. So recently, I was able to see my own name in the credits for a game that I really liked as well. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, and then at 5:30 I log off and I switch off the computers and I try to leave this room as soon as I can, feed the cats again, because that's what they need, food twice a day. And then depending on the day, I usually make dinner or I read for a bit. Some days I still work after my usual shift has ended because I also work as a freelance translator for streaming services and translate TV shows or films. I did one of those cheesy Christmas films recently, which was a lot of fun. But that usually means that I end up working more than 10 hours a day during the week. So sometimes I do that, or I play video games myself. I hang out with my partner, hang out with the cats. I meet up with friends and play Dungeons and Dragons a lot. So sometimes I need to do prep for that because I DM them. I'm the game master, so I come up with a story and then I lead them through it and we play it together, usually via Zoom. But for that I go into the living room just to have a bit of a change of scenery, if you will, because I like to separate my work and my outside of work life just to keep a bit of a balance, because as a freelancer, or at least part-time freelancer, that's a bit difficult sometimes. After that's done, it's usually about 10, 11-ish, and then I get ready for bed, brush my teeth, that sort of thing, and then I think I usually go to bed between 11:30 and midnight, and depending on how I feel, I read a bit or stare at my phone and scroll through social media, and then put on some kind of podcast or audiobook, because my brain doesn't stop and doesn't go to sleep by itself, so I usually have to listen to people talking somewhere. And then I usually fall asleep between midnight and midnight. And that's a normal day during the week.
Hi, my name is Ezio. I'm Italian and 45 years old. I've been living in Glasgow since December. I work in a contact center. My job description is to answer queries and complaints from customers that they may come by email or by phone. My day normally, I work Monday to Friday 9 to 5. I work from home 4 days a week. I have to go into the office 1 day a week on a rota. My day normally starts around 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. The first thing I do when I wake up, before I even get out of bed, I do a short meditation, maybe 1 minute or so. After that, I do an hour of Kundalini yoga. When I finish that, my mind is clear. I'm ready to face the day. So I have a quick bite of a bowl of cereal, a coffee, and a cigarette. Then I take a shower. Then I have my main breakfast, which is either a protein shake or maybe 2 eggs. At 9 o'clock, I gotta be logged onto the telephone line, and my priority is to answer phone calls. In between phone calls, whenever I have downtime, I try to answer the emails for the day. I have an average, let's say, of maybe 10 emails a day. Phone calls I cannot count, because it can be either very busy or it can be even quiet for half an hour between a phone call and the other. So I log in at 9 o'clock, I keep going until 11. 11 I have a short break, just eat a snack quickly, back into it. I have my lunch at 12:30, it's only half an hour, so I have a quick meal, warm up something quickly, have a cigarette, start again at 1 o'clock, again phone calls, emails in between phone calls, another break at 3 p.m. and then finally I finish at 5. When I finish at 5, I close the laptop, I switch off my phone, I go straight to the park, take my shoes off and put my feet in the grass. Normally, I either just enjoy being in the sun or I read a book. I favor paper books, I don't use Kindle. I prefer to spend £10 for a book that would cost me £1 in a Kindle version, because since I work all the time on the computer, since most of my family and friends are outside the UK and my main interaction are always through a screen, I like to read a book to take my face and my head off the screen for at least an hour after that. I read mainly books about spirituality that complement the meditation and the yoga I do during the day. Occasionally when I take breaks from it, and when I do, I like pure escapism. I read like mystery novels or science fiction or stuff like that. So after I've been to the park, I come home, I start making my dinner around 7:30. I eat my dinner in front of the laptop, watching stuff on YouTube. Normally something that that takes my mind off, like snips of comedy, stand-up comedy, stuff like that. When I finish my dinner, I go in the backyard, have a cigarette outside, come back in, pop in a movie, 1 hour and a half, 2 hours. By that time, it's normally 10. I aim to go to bed at 10 p.m, not always possible, so it might be 10:30 or 11 p.m, and I like to fall asleep by reading a book in my bed. I read something in my bed, but not the spiritual stuff. When I go to bed, I will either read comic books or something very light, just to unplug from the day, and then I pass out happily.
Hiya, my name's Lara Fullerton. I am 33 years old and I live in Cambuslang, just outside Glasgow. So my routine, if it's a work day, so I work as a security officer at a big campus in Glasgow. If it's a work day, my alarm goes off at 5:30 a.m. as I start at 7 o'clock. My shifts are usually 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. So 5:30 alarm, get up, get myself dressed, I go downstairs and feed my 2 cats, who always behave like they've never been fed in their lives. Pull together some stuff for lunch, so it's usually either if I've made some pasta the night before or a sandwich if I feel like I want to be fancy for the day. Pull together lunch, get my stuff together for the day in terms of making sure I've got my access card for the site, that kind of thing, and then usually jump in the car around 6:20. So it takes about 20 minutes or so to get to work, but I like to give myself that bit of time just to get in and make sure that I don't hit any problems. Usually don't at that time in the morning anyway, but just to make sure I can get in enough time. The car park at my work is a wee 5-minute walk from the building, so it helps to give myself an extra bit of time there as well. So once I get to work, I'll usually go into the office, sign in, and then collect my keys and my radio for the day so that I can communicate with people and so that I can get everywhere that I need to get. And then let the night shift away. So we have a night shift that works 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. So we'll get a handover from them, make sure if there's anything that we need to know that they tell us about that, and then we'll send them home for a kip, and that's when we get started. So first thing at 7 o'clock is usually just run around and do an opening, so make sure that everything in the centre is open, all the doors are unlocked. If there are any meetings and things happening through the day, make sure the meeting rooms are open. If there's any events on through the day as well, or any client visits, we'll make sure that the lights are on, that the doors are unlocked, so that the representatives for the site can take the clients and stuff around and show them where they need to show them. So that's first thing, is the open up. Then it'll either be one of a couple of things, so it might just be that that I'll go out on a patrol. So there are a number of different buildings on the site that I work on. They all need to be patrolled through the day, so it's a case of, we might get one done in the morning. If there's other things going on that kind of take priority, then the patrol might not get done till later on, but they will definitely get done through the day at various points. It's not just myself that does this job as well. So there are 3 security officers usually on shift, and we'll take turns at who's doing which building and that kind of thing. In addition to the patrols, when we've got events and stuff happening on site, we'll always do what's called a public safety check. So that involves, it can be a bit boring, but it involves running around the building, and not physically running, walking around the building and just checking things like fire extinguishers are in the right place, or that the fire exits aren't blocked by whatever, and that the emergency exit lights, the wee green lights that you see above the doors, making sure that they're on, just in case we do ever have to go for like a fire evacuation, so that it's all safe and people can get out and stuff. So when there's not events on the site, what we'll do instead is usually more patrols, or we'll take turns at managing the access for vehicles on site. So that's via a gatehouse, so it'll involve just sort of sitting, if a vehicle comes to the gatehouse, we'll establish what they're there for, who they're here to see, etc., and then a decision will be made on where they've got to go and who they've got to speak to and that kind of thing. So we take turns at doing that through the day. We're usually only up at the gatehouse for 3 or 4 hours each through the day. And when we don't have vehicles on site, like for example if it's a Sunday and there's nothing on, it's quite quiet and we're not expecting any deliveries, Just get to sit in the sun, open the window, enjoy the sound of the Clydeside Expressway, and just kind of, watch the world go by. So, as I said, it can be quite boring, but it's okay. It's okay. So that's sort of during the day, takes me up to about lunchtime. The break times that I get through the day are usually kind of set. We get 3 half-hour breaks through the day, so if that's a 12-hour shift, it breaks it up a little bit, which is quite good. And lunch-wise, it'll usually be, as I said before, if I've made something the night before, I'll have that. But if I haven't had time to make it, or if I haven't been shopping, then there's a wee cafe on site that sells some really nice stuff. So they've got some nice vegan sandwiches, and sometimes they'll do full out meals and things as well, which are a wee bit expensive, but they're worth it because they taste good. So that's takes me up to lunch, and then in the afternoon it's more patrols. It's sort of sometimes being reactive as well on site, so if there are things happening, if people need access to a particular room, or if one of the vehicle doors needs to be raised to let a truck in or a car in or anything like that, that would be myself or one of my colleagues that would do that. Sometimes it's easy, it's just a case of the key goes into the lock and it's a shutter that goes up, but sometimes the doors are big old doors that you have to pull with a chain to get them up, which isn't fun, but needs must. So that takes me through afternoon. I think, as I said before, it's usually a 7 o'clock finish. I usually get home, luckily there's no traffic at that time, so I'm usually home by about 25 past 7. If I'm working again the next day, then I don't really have a lot of time to spare in the evening, so I'll usually just come home and make dinner. I sometimes try and make stuff that is quick and easy, maybe only takes half an hour. I can fling it all in a pan, and something that I can box up and take with me the next day. So chickpea curry is a favourite of mine, really easy to make, so that's something that I just made last week as well. It's really good. As I said, if that's the work day the next day, then I'll make dinner, I'll have dinner, I will get my stuff ready for the following day, have a shower, and then sometimes I'll watch an episode of a TV show if it's something quick. If it's only maybe a 30-minute episode, I can get one of those in, and then it's usually straight to bed after that to get up and do the same thing. If I'm not working the next day, I do like to maybe watch a movie or play some video games. Obviously spend a bit of time with the cats as well, because they're needy little devils. And then bedtime is around about, if I'm working the next day, it's usually no later than 10, because I'm old and I need my sleep. If I'm not working the next day, I'll maybe push the boat out a wee bit and stay up till midnight, because I can have a lie-in the next day. But yeah, anytime between 10 and 12, I would say. And that's my day.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm 33. I am originally from Aberdeen, up northeast of Scotland. I moved down to Glasgow when I was 18 to study at university. At the moment, I'm currently working for a bank, and I am what is classed as a client data analyst. So we help set up records for businesses and clients like sole traders or partnerships, so that way we can start trading on the stock markets, such as foreign exchange, money markets, capital markets, collateral, things like that. So basically, in terms of my day, I wake up at 5:15 in the morning, get ready, head to the gym, where I will work out until about 7 o'clock. I will then head home, usually get home for 7:15, and it's a quick shower, quick change, make breakfast and a cup of tea, and breakfast could range from maybe toast or just Weetabix, since I'm usually short of time. But luckily I work from home at the moment, so it's, kitchen's right next to the desk, which is always good. And so I do compressed shifts as well, so I work 4 days out of 5, which does mean that I work longer shifts. So I usually do 8 in the morning till 6 at night. So start my day at 8 o'clock, and then I am dealing with what's called controls, which is just checking for any errors that happen in the trades of the previous night, making sure all that's fixed, that way they can run for the next day. I also check the queues, make sure nothing's left out from the day before. And then at about 10 o'clock, we have our team meeting that we need to discuss, that we have every day, where we discuss what went well the day before, what went badly, what can we improve on, and basically just how we're doing generally. So it's good to always have a bit of a chat with your team. And then again, it's just managing the queues that come in, things that come in critical, which means it needs to be done within an hour. We can get high volume requests, which we need to set up and get it done with a specific time frame. Stuff needs to be done by close of business. I'm also part of a project where we need to create statements for customers on money markets, which means we create 800 statements and it needs to be checked, double checked, and things like that. So to be honest, the job is not the most exciting. It can get very busy, a bit stressful, especially when you've got like 30 critical requests all at the same time. It needs to be done within the hour, but generally it's not a bad job for what we get paid, which is always good, you know. In terms of working from home, I think it's the best thing for me personally, since my office is based in Edinburgh. So not having to commute, travel, spend money out on travel is, you know, always a perk. And it's always good to be able to wake up and roll out of bed and just go to your office in the kitchen. But that is changing to 2 days a week, which I'm not too thrilled of, if I'm honest. As I mentioned, that means having to commute, having to get up even earlier. I need to get up at 4 in the morning to be able to travel or catch the bus to get into Edinburgh on time for my shift. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. But then the day just carries on until I get my lunch at about 2 o'clock. But even then, sometimes you need to get someone to cover your queue in case anything critical comes across. But again, it can only be people that are trained on the tasks that you're trained on. So sometimes with holidays and things like that, I don't particularly get a specific hour lunch break. I might take 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there, just to try and make it up. Or I just have to work through lunch. But if I'm doing that, then what I'll do is I'll just sit Netflix on my little stand and just sit and watch Netflix and just check the queues every now and again, which is fine, as long as the work gets done, you know. And then lunch is 2 till 3. Lunch can basically consist of whatever's in the fridge, but usually it might be a sandwich or like chicken and vegetables. If I'm in the office, I do try to prepare the night before my meals. Again, it could be a salad or chicken and vegetables again. Yeah, very boring, unfortunately, but got to try and lose the weight. And but if I'm in a rush or totally forgot to take out something out of the freezer or defrost the night before, you know, there's sandwich shops at the office, might just jump and grab a sandwich at Costa or Greggs, something like that. And then usually, again, because of lunch, the way it works, obviously at home you can't really speak to anyone. You can obviously go on your phone and WhatsApp people, but in the office it's just a hit or a miss whether or not you're actually with people at the same time, because again, they've got queues they need to manage, they might get their lunch at a different time, and usually because they're working normal 9 to 5 or 10-6, our lunches don't always fall at the same time, so sometimes just sitting by yourself in the office, in the canteen, earphones in, watching again something on Netflix. So I go back, lunch is 2 till 3, go back at 3, carry on, check, see what queues are available, is everything been covered, and then you're just working through your day. And then if you're working till 6, there is what's called an end of day chat that goes on, which is specifically people that are working till 6, between 5 and 6, you'll be given extra tasks to do and make sure everything's covered for the end of the day, because with some tasks it has to be done that day. You can't leave it overnight because it can affect the trading in the stock markets for the clients. When I finish at 6, if I'm at home, it's just a case of getting up, preparing dinner, which again all depends on what I've taken out of the freezer, but it could be like spaghetti bolognese, it could be Cajun pasta, chicken. There's a lot of chicken in my diet, unfortunately. And then it's usually sitting in the couch in the living room watching Netflix while eating dinner. And at the moment I'm trying to get through Ozark, which is incredibly boring. I really don't get why people like it, but I've almost finished, so I'm going to just carry on. And then once that's done, if I don't have anything planned, sometimes I might plan to go see my partner, but because he flies his cabin crew, he's obviously away for a lot of the days. So if he's home, I'll go to his, or he'll come over here and we'll have dinner together and just spend our time together, watch Netflix, watch RuPaul's Drag Race, which is always a plus. But if I'm by myself, I'll try and organise to go spend time with friends. go meet them for dinner or just to hang out. Or if everyone's busy, I'll just sit and play the PlayStation. As you can see, I really enjoy my consoles. I'm a big gamer. So at the moment, I'm trying to get through a list of games that I've either not completed or not even opened. A lot of them are still in their wrappers. But my biggest sort of games are Final Fantasy, Resident Evil, Sonic, a lot of role-playing games that I will try and get through. And then I aim to get to bed about 10 o'clock, 10:30, because I really like to try and get between 7 to 8 hours of sleep, especially because if I don't, I'm really tired the next day and it doesn't help when going to the gym. And then it just continues on in the cycle. Go to bed 10, 10:30, and then wake up again at 5, 5:15 to head to the gym again. And yeah, that's my day.
My name is Daniela. I'm 54 years old and I am from Switzerland. But now I live in Port Glasgow. I will tell you my favorite daily routine, and that's on a Sunday. On a Sunday morning, I wake up maybe at 7 a.m. and I take it very easy. I go and have my cup of tea. Mostly I check what's going on in the world, and then after I go and see what's in the fridge. We are, on a Sunday, we are having a compassionate community meeting, and that's with different people. So we are having free food from the pantry in Port Glasgow so that we can provide food for people on a Sunday. So I go and see what is in the fridge and start to think about what could I cook today. Mostly it's very easy stuff. So I make tomato sauce for making a plate of spaghetti or pasta. Or yesterday I made banana loaf because there was lots and lots of black bananas. Maybe at 9, there is a time really where I start to do everything. And that's starting to cook. But that's first I just need to make a plan. What could I do? So at 9 I started to make the banana loaf and the tomato sauce for my pasta. It is then when it's getting closer to 11, starting to prepare the bag. What can we take down? Because there are people of all kinds. There are children, there are young people, older people, men, women. It's a bunch of mixed people, but it's very, very nice because it's like a second family for me. I miss my family. So this is my second family. So at 1 we are opening the Riverside Club, what in the past was the Old Men's Club. It's now open to children and also women. At 1 we are opening, and then the first people are coming in, and we're making water for the teas, for the big thermos. We're preparing the chairs, we're opening the windows and just making it open for everyone so that people can come in. Yesterday, the first guests were 2 children were jumping in, and they were just so happy to see everyone. So then we are having cups of teas, cakes, we're having a chat, we're singing, we're playing chess. Maybe at 3 we're having something to eat. And that's mostly when everyone sits together and has a chat. But it's very, very nice. Lots of people on a Sunday are lonely. And I think that's the important part. Yesterday was a beautiful, beautiful day, so we decided that we could go with the children to the playground. So the guys were cleaning up the club, they were hoovering, washing, everything just getting ready for the next day. And me and a friend did go over to the swing park with the children and had a very, very nice day. At 5:30 we closed the club. So then I had this idea, I want to go for a swim in the Clyde. It's cold water swimming, or just swimming. Most people probably would call it swimming. So I drove yesterday up to Inverkip, did go for my swim, came home at 6:30, had a shower, made myself another cup of tea, And then I decided that maybe I need a little bit of a rest. Did go for a sleep and woke up this morning at 7.
My name is Alberto. I'm originally from Italy. I'm 46 years old. I currently live in Glasgow. I only moved there a year ago, but previously I also spent many years in London, in Italy, and in Athens as well, in Greece. So normally, on a normal day, I get up kind of at around 7:30, 8 in the morning. I currently work mainly from home. I am a teacher. I teach languages. I teach Italian to students in the UK and also English to students in Italy. So usually, so that's 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. Generally, I just have a glass of water, very first thing. Then I have a cup of coffee a bit later. I don't have a proper breakfast usually. So I go through my first few lessons. Initially, of course, working from home. I turn on my computer, so I check my schedule, and then I start with probably 8:30, 9 o'clock with the first lesson. Usually I've got another one at 10 o'clock, sometimes at 11, so I probably do 2-3 hours in the morning of teaching. Around 11:30 I have a bit of an earlier lunch, and usually I have at that time a bit of a salad. So salad with avocado and maybe some meat, fish, salmon for example, as well. Or at times I also make myself a soup, depending on the weather. So a soup, mushroom soup is my favorite. After that, I go back to my computer, so go back to my home office, and I check again a schedule for the afternoon. And I usually have lessons after 3 p.m. So sometimes at 2 p.m., but usually I have like a couple of hours between 1 and 3 where I generally kind of revise students' homework, and I prepare lessons plans, for example. In the afternoon, again, as I said, our first lesson is usually around 3 o'clock. At times I have group lessons. They might take a little bit longer, so an hour and a half, depending. I usually have a break at 5 if I don't have any lessons, but usually the first evening lesson is at 6. And again, usually I have a lesson at 6 and a lesson at 7, so I really finish working at 8 in the evening. At times it goes also a bit further than that, also because of teaching also students in Italy. They are an hour ahead of us, so at times I might also have lessons like a bit earlier or a bit later depending, and I finish work usually, however, around 8 o'clock. I'm married, so usually when my wife is home, and she also finishes her day around that same time at 8 o'clock. We have dinner together. For dinner, again, fish is a favorite, but also steak, chips, anything like that. Salad usually is another side that we always have, and a glass of wine, red possibly. She prefers white. And after that we go, often we again read something together, or we watch a movie, for example, at home. If we go out, again, we like going out to pubs, so we might go to the centre of Glasgow sometimes, but during the week we tend to spend more time at home or in our area. We might just go for a quick half a pint or a pint in Cardonald. And after that, so this takes us to probably 11 o'clock, and at that point I read a bit, or between 11 and 12, actually that's the time when I usually go to bed, but usually it's around midnight or 11 o'clock.
Hi, my name's Neve, I'm 37. I originally come from Brighton, but I now live in Glasgow. My day usually starts about 7:30 in the morning with a small kitten sitting either on my chest or my face because she wants to be fed. So I usually roll out of bed about 7:30 in the morning, grab some clothes, and the cats will escort me to the kitchen where I will feed them while they shout at me, and that usually takes me to about 10 to 8. If my shift is starting at 8 because I work from home, I will just go straight into my office, set everything up, and join my colleagues for the beginning of our shift. I work for a call centre that's outsourced. We take on a lot of different clients, and currently the campaign that I'm on, I'm usually either working on the phones, so I'll be taking inbound calls from people who just want to know the progress of the product that we deal with, or I will be doing what's known as floor walking, so I'll be on the Teams messages that we use, supporting my colleagues if they have questions outside the standard queries that we would usually get. If they have issues, they would come to the main chat channel and just ask the question, and one of the floor walkers, there's usually about 4 of us, will jump in and assist with that. Because we're on rotation, breaks do change on a daily basis, but generally if you're starting at 8, your first break will be about 11 o'clock in the morning, which is when I get up and I get coffee, which is always necessary, and usually have to fight the cat for access to the kitchen as usual, because she's very small and very excitable. The older one doesn't give me the time of day until after work anyway, so that's not a problem. But yeah, breaks would be about 11 o'clock. Lunch would usually be about 1 o'clock, and that's about half an hour. I'm not really a lunch eater unless somebody is poking me. So I would usually spend lunch doing the washing up from the night before and just having a bit of me time before I go back into the end of the shift. And again, you get your quarter-hour break between lunch and the end of the shift. And if I'm finishing at about 5, that would usually be 2:45, 3 o'clock. It's usually another cup of coffee, another fight with the cat. And then at 5 o'clock, just end the shift. And yeah, then the evening is mine, although it's usually not. I do play D&D. I actually DM a lot of D&D. And I think I play in 1 game a week. I DM 1 game a week at the moment, and it's looking like I'm going to be DMing another game at some point soon. So what would happen then would be 5 o'clock, come out of work, start making dinner. We use Gusto, which is one of the pre-portioned meals. So basically you get your recipe card, you get all the ingredients once a week, and then in the evening you just get your recipe card out, get the ingredients out, and you basically cook from scratch with everything already portioned out. So we do that. That's usually no more than about an hour, have dinner, and about 7:30 usually we would start a game of D&D, and I talk nonsense in silly voices to friends that I get on with incredibly well, and yeah, we do some weird and wacky things in a world that either I've made up or that I've borrowed from somebody else for a while. If I'm the one playing, generally I tend to get other people's characters killed, which the dice don't like me when I'm a player, which is always entertaining. But yeah, that would usually last until about 10 o'clock in the evening, at which point you just say goodnight and just chill out for a bit, play a bit with the cats, spend some time with my girlfriend if we've not, been playing together. And usually between about 11, half 11, we'll start making our way to bed. But the time between is either we'll watch something that we're trying to finish. We recently finished Anne with an E after attempting to watch it all in one go several times. But I think we're currently working on the Gilmore Girls, but possibly The Sandman is up next, so we'll see what happens there. But if we don't, if we're not watching something, we're listening to a podcast that we enjoy, or we sit together and read, or I knit. I also write, so occasionally I will just pull out a notepad and just scribble down some ideas, or maybe the next part of the chapter that I'm writing. But yeah, around about 11:30 is kind of bedtime, so last check on the cats, roll into bed, usually asleep just before midnight generally, and then my day starts again at 7:30.
Always.
That's a big question for this time of the day. I would consider that I am comfortable in my own skin. Happiness for me is a journey towards, and maybe sometimes during the day I can be happy, but it's not the end process. For me, the process is to be peaceful. Because happiness comes and goes, and most people become happy when they get what they want, and they become unhappy when the universe doesn't give them what they want. So I want to be equipoise in between. I'm not really pursuing happiness, I'm pursuing balance. And with that comes immense happiness, as long as you don't chase it.
I am very happy. I am.
Maybe not happy, I'm content, definitely, because I'm having, work-wise, I am satisfied, I have a good circle of friends. Maybe it's not happiness, but it's more than good enough, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's quite a difficult question to answer. I am happy, I think. I'm quite happy with where I am in my life at the moment. I'm really happy that I can, support myself with doing what I'm doing, and I love my job. So yeah, I would say I am quite happy. Like, obviously there is always times that are ups and downs, and my job is stressful, like not knowing like when the next job will kind of come, but yeah, I'm quite happy.
Yes.
In general, I'm happy because there's a part of me, some days I could be a social butterfly where I'm socialising and being active, meeting up with friends and family, and getting ways from all worries of the day. But some other days I find that with my mental health I can be lethargic and not be as active, but I try not to show as much, and it can be very dark. I'm in a dark place and I try and see somebody about to seek help and discuss it like a doctor. And then I feel, but sometimes I suffer from anxiety and I can get anxious. I know you don't see that, but I do put on a front. To be honest, I put on a front, and I can get panicky, but I do a bit of CBT mindfulness to control it. So I would definitely recommend the CBT mindfulness does help, because it's literally, say for example, you're taking a panic attack or anxiety, or you have a mental disorder that you can't control. Say it's like psychotic or whatever, and you can't control it. You can always say you're going to a crowded place like a supermarket. You can count the amount of tins of beans. You need to count the amount of tins of beans. Look at the colours, the object, the shape, even the touch, touch the senses, the tactile moments, and the actual looking at it, lingering at it, can actually distract. And even going out and trying to kind of nip it in the bud by trying being aware of things, a bit aware about your breathing, and try to do some grounding work, or even touching your arms up and down and grounding, like put your feet firmly in place and closing your eyes in a quiet place away from everybody. So I have been issues with my mental health over the years, but I do find it hard when I do get panicky kind of feelings, and it can be full blown, but I try to address it and get on with it, and I have been very brave to deal with it, because some people, like my friends, don't believe it. I don't tell them till later I suffer from it and I've been in a bad way. They seem surprised. They're all that I actually manage to deal with it, because it's a full blown one when I'm walking, and then I don't tell them. I just use my CBT, and then it's kind of surprised that it even happened to me. But I just literally tell them later on, but I don't tell them at the time, because I don't want them to make a big scene, and if they make a big scene, it might make it worse. So I just rather hide from it and not say anything and just get on with it. I've been doing that for a long time. This is like 20 odd years I've been suffering from this panic, anxiety problems that I've kind of restricted my working a bit. But I do still get on with things like living rent and just let it surpass and get on with it. But I would just say, if anybody's got a problem, CBT mindfulness helps. And to obviously get therapy with medication and get the right treatment. And talking to somebody helps. And having good friends and family around you.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say about a 7.5 maybe. I'd say I'm generally happy, but I'm good at finding things that make me happy, even if my circumstances aren't the greatest. So yeah, sorry, that's a very long answer to a very straightforward question. I would say about 7.5. Maybe. Pretty happy. There are things, especially about my job, that I would like to change. I love my work, but I don't like my job, if that makes sense. So my employer is a bit shit. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy most other aspects of my life as well.
I'm happier than I used to be. But no, I don't think I'm nowhere near to have found really what gives me happiness in life. But for some reason, to be able to admit this, it makes me feel good. It feels like a relief not to having to pretend all the time that everything is right. So I'm not where I would like to be, but I made gigantic strides from where I used to be, in places where I didn't want to be. And, you know, I take one day at a time, and I'm sure that by not trying too hard, by just, if I could, I think that the key to happiness for me is not in having a goal, a future project, but in if I find a way to be happy with what I have right now, then whatever is meant to be to arrive will arrive.
What a question. Overall, yes, I am. I have a bit of variety in my day, so I know I'd said that sometimes it's a wee bit boring, but actually, overall, I don't have anything to complain about. And then when I do have my days off, I get cracking on acting and other stuff, so yeah.
Yeah, so, if I'm honest. Just a lot of stuff at the moment, as I mentioned. Having to go into Edinburgh twice a week is going to have a strain on my finances. It's really going to leave me short, so I am trying to, come to a compromise with work, but it's not really going well, so my mind's on that. How am I going to afford to, I can afford my bills, but it's like, how am I going to afford to do anything else, sort of thing. I was doing acting classes, but now that's all going to have to stop, because I'm not going to be able to afford it. I was going to take up singing lessons again, but again, that's going to have to stop. So it's thinking a lot like that. And being in my job, I'm not truly happy because I don't like the office work sort of thing. I don't like being stuck in an office, being stuck at home doing the same thing over and over again. I just think it's really monotonous and it's not what I want. So it's trying to figure out what I want as well. So yeah, a lot's going on.
Some days I'm happier than other days. Some days it's hard.
Yeah, I think I am, yeah. You mean now or in general? Now I am, but if I am now, usually I am in general.
Honestly, I would say that I am. It's an odd thing for me to be able to say, because a couple of years ago that would not have been the answer, but I am, happy where I am.